should you mention the specific numbers or more or less specific numbers in conversion rate? Because I feel like 20% increase, that's level one, like you can just say it. But should you go a level beyond that and say like, okay, it's 20%, meaning X amount of euros or dollars each month for this company? Or
I think you should go.
We're officially live.
We are officially live, exactly. I mean, this is just an experiment. It's hard to believe, but I finally figured out how you should write a case study that gets you a job or a project or a contract. And it came to me from a book that isn't even about design.
Which book is this?
Well, the book is oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley. It's probably a very well-known book because everyone I tell about it, it's like, oh yeah, of course, I want to read it, But it mentions somewhere in the middle of the book, it mentions like around 4 reasons why someone should subscribe to you as a business. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. That works for a designer as well. You're subscribing to a business, or you're hiring a designer. You're paying someone to do something for you. And it clicked for me instantly. I was like, yeah, that's it. That's something we should talk about. And here we are.
So what's number one? I'm very curious.
Well, the first thing, as obvious as it sounds, is the reason one, someone hires you to make more money. Perhaps to if it's a SaaS or a tech company, it's to raise the magical MRR number, monthly recurring revenue. I think that's quite obvious, right? But still something to think about. And I don't want to go into a bigger rant right away, but it's something that I noticed within myself, but also within the designers I try to help, is that a lot of stuff on your portfolio or on your LinkedIn profile or a case study, they all talk about, I want to bring joy, delightful user experience. And that's true. Like you probably want to do that as well, build something you're proud of, but it doesn't really talk about that big reason, the make money reason. And, from designer to designer, you get it and I get it. Of course, something that brings you joy, it's more likely for you to spend money on, and that will make your employer more money. But speaking their language, really being specific about, here's how this delightful experience that brings people joy brings you money. Here's how we did it. I think is something you should put more of into your case studies.
That's true. I think as designers, it's part of the craft of like what we learn, like first principles is like how can we pull for the user, or kind of how can we we lean heavy into like the user experience part. And then to your earlier point, like how can we make a delightful experience? Well, to like the first part of your statement, like making the business money, if the business doesn't make money, we can't delight those users. So there's this delicate balance of if you want to serve your users or your client base or these personas, it's reciprocal. Like we give value to the users of this SaaS product, but in return, there's this money exchange so that we can keep improving said product. So that's essentially like the theory. So like, let's build a product people will pay for, and as they pay for this product or service, we get to do incremental improvements so that we're facilitate the continual delivery of that. So of said value. Yeah.
And then just to extend what you're saying, like the companies make money also to be able to pay you, so it's also, it's a win-win all around, happy user, happy business, happy designer. You said crafts and the things you've learned, makes me think about education, whether it's formal, like a university or a boot camp, but did you have any form of, business subjects in school? Stakeholder management, money, business, and that kind of stuff.
Exactly zero. I think it's from the same. There's some things that we should be taught in school, like the business part of it is super important. Also, taxes we never learn in school, but that's beside the point.
Same. Yeah,
it's something. Maybe it's a good strategy. You're learning the fundamental skill, like hard skills, and then you learn it later. But you should probably learn both, just because what we're doing as designers, and I think it's more relevant in today's time, is like for the bridge between the business and the consumer or the user. And understanding that end-to-end experience of like the business ecosystem of how that SaaS or service works is how you're going to deliver a better experience.
Yeah. Because the reason I'm asking is because I have the same thing. I went to design school and I learned design. Very hard skill focused. Nothing about taxes, indeed. Nothing about mortgages. But and also nothing about how to sell and business focus. So that's something we discussed months ago in an episode, right? About the things we didn't have in school, and school was lying to you, that kind of stuff. So another thing related to this, about the making money and the delightfulness people talk about. I'm curious what you think. But we have at one of my favorite projects, we have a scorecard. Levels 1 to 5, where number 1 is horrible and 5 is memorable. Like, I remember this, or you could easily replace it with delightful or joyful or any of those happy words, basically. And whenever we are working on something, we're looking at the current score. Like, well, it's currently a 2. It's kind of meh. It's there. It does its thing, but it's not easy to use. It's not fun. What is our goal? Do we want to make it a 3 or 4 or a 5? But then being aware that 5, delightful, is super challenging. So and when people talk about, I'm all about creating a delightful experience, I'm wondering if that's even something they can deliver on. Like, can you make something that's truly delightful? Can you score a 5 out of 5 all the time, anytime? Because I sure can't. Like, I can go to a 3 super easy, a 4 quite easy, but then a 5, like, that's so much work to figure out what the 5 even is. So meaning that you are probably over promising something and also promising the wrong thing, because you're not even talking about making them money.
Yeah, I think I approach it as not a overall score of delightfulness, but I like to inject a delightful moment.
Right.
So like, I don't know if that could be, maybe it's just a checkbox that you cross off. So like, during this, I have this end-to-end experience or this feature, there's a moment that is like a reinforcement of value. It's like, oh, I've gone through the experience. I have this adrenaline spike because I was rewarded, and the vehicle is this delightful moment. So I don't think necessarily needs to be having a delightful experience, but like have a moment in there as a reward or something that kind of gives value, like during that experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a bit of a judgment call also. Like, some people are very strict in how they would score something, while others are like, yeah, this has been delightful, nice. And some of our listeners have mentioned to us, like, well, how about some examples? And I think that's great feedback on our show. So how about some examples? Like, have you created projects where you can very clearly create a case study where you can say something like, well, here's what we did and here's how it made someone money?
How I like to position my case studies now is like, what business KPI am I pushing for? The easy one that everyone or most designers understand is conversion. Like, I created this feature that increased the conversion rate by, I don't know, 20%, let's say. Like, and that you can do some napkin math as the ROI is, if you're making $10,000 a month for the business, increase by 20% in conversion, you can do the math there, and an increase in MRR. I think that's the easy one. And then another one I like to use is adoption. That's the one that I'm focusing on this year, rather, because that's the one that's a long-term play. And what I mean by that is, after the conversion, someone signed up for your product and service, they can abandon, like they can forget about your tool. If it doesn't fulfill that usefulness, then they're just going to abandon it. So like, how can you get someone to adopt your product? Meaning that they're logging in every day, for example, and using it every day. And that leads to an upsell. Like, I found this product useful. This tool is ingrained in my day-to-day. This is going to be leading to the upsells opposite that the business has. I think that's a top one for it. Conversion is easy, but adoption is the trickier one for sure.
Right. I think it's very interesting. Actually, the adoption one, I didn't really consider it. So then the upsells, is that something that happens automatically, through email sequences, or did you mean something extra beyond that? Asking for just to be as specific as we can for our listeners.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between the type of products you're building. So I think there's a distinction between B2C and B2B. I think B2C, there's a clear next step. So like to your point, an email sequence is the next step. So you can set a mechanism. They've used the product continuously for the first 30, 60, 90 days. Let's trigger either an email sequence or a modal, like an in-app experience, upselling the next stage. And then that's a clear, okay, we've increased MRR because they've jumped up to the next package.
Right.
In B2B, it's a bit different because it requires a sales team, go to market, the customer success. So the adoption metric is a signal to the internal team to reach out to the customer. So our engagement metrics are consistently high for this specific company. This is a signal, whether you leverage Mixpanel as like that kind of tools, like they've triggered the signal within Mixpanel. It is a great opportunity to like reach out and have conversations about like the next tier or the next package or bundle. That'll be great for them.
Right. And then there's conversion rate there too, but that's perhaps a very big loop that you go into. Should you mention the specific numbers, or more or less specific numbers in conversion rate? Because I feel like 20% increase, that's level 1. Like you can just say it, but should you go a level beyond that and say like, okay, it's 20%, meaning X amount of euros or dollars each month for this company? Or
I think you should get as granular as you can. So I think that's like the lower level, like 20%. And that can get challenged a lot during like job interviews or like during the interview process. Like it may be perceived like, oh, this person just put a random number, but how do you back up that number?
Yeah.
So I think like as a designer, you should be very proactive in taking screenshots. If you have access to like analytics tools, like doing the math and then getting those calculations as you're doing, like as you wrap up a project. So like 20%, but equates to find out what it costs per seat, per user, and then do the math there.
Yeah.
Calculate it per month, calculate it per year. Like I think it's really important now to have proof behind the work you've done. Not just saying like in a case study saying these metrics, they don't mean nothing. But if you have an actual, I think a tip is like if you have a snapshot of a dashboard, that's really concrete proof that you've done the work.
Right. Yeah. So what if you don't have any access to analytics or metrics or financials like that? Like is the make more money case study, is that just out of reach, or is there something else you can do?
This is actually something that I've been asked a lot lately in the last month or two. It's like, how do I show the value in my case study, but if I didn't get access to the metrics or analytics at all? What I often suggest is using a benchmark. So like our products are not unique little snowflakes. There's different permutations of these different types of softwares. That's why there's things like competitors. But you can leverage benchmarks as a metrics in your case study. So if you don't have the analytics directly, you can just do some research, do a quick search in Claude or ChatGPT. I delivered on this specific feature, outline it, and then ask what are the benchmarks for this type of feature and what types of KPI lifts from a business perspective does it affect? So, and then that's how you can kind of craft your case study. Like I delivered a feature that has been benchmarked to increase these KPIs. That's the value that you're delivering, even though you don't have direct access to like the MRR, ARR, like any of the KPIs.
Right. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's a good one. I never thought about benchmarking. That's time to revisit my own case studies.
What's also like very useful for junior designers, like they're doing fake projects. Yeah. How do they show the ROI of something that never saw the light of day and was actually never launched?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's one of the most common questions on one of the most common pieces of advice in design. Like, well, you just talk about money, talk about conversion rates, blah, blah, blah. Well, what if I didn't have any? That's very challenging. And I have some thoughts there. For example, I mean, if it's one of the reasons to hire someone is out of those 4 that I have in mind, but something that's related here is to make a change to the business itself, and that indirectly could impact one of those 4 reasons, 3 of which we still have to discuss. So for one of the best case studies I made was for a Dutch ministry where my biggest impact was about raising the level of design maturity or UX maturity within the department. And that's tough to measure. Like there's not something like a number of people that attend the design review each week, that it went up or something. You could, but it would be a bit strange. But the thing you do in that case is, you claim it to be true, but you can look at the A to Z, like start to finish time it takes to go from idea to something being live. And then you can say, well, that helps us make more money, because more better features launched sooner mean that it's a better fit for our users and it's more likely for them to adopt, like you say, or to convert in a better way. So yeah, make a change to a company, also a good one. And if it's a personal project, like you say, or a fake project, include a testimonial, even if it's just from one commenter online where you asked for help. I mean, that's, at least it's something. Right. But I'm fully aware that it's much more challenging and difficult compared to a quote unquote actual project.
That actually might be a very underrated one. That's a really good one. I think often we think the value that we have to put forward is like, here's what I can do. Here's my output. But like, as you kind of mature into kind of understanding like culture within business, doing great output, but also bringing up others with you is also seen as really good value. Like if I plop Nick in this team, he delivers quality every single time, but also he increases the quality of the output from the people around him.
Yes, that's exactly it. And the reason I wrote about it in that particular case study was because the environment being as political as it is, working for a government agency, like everything is slow. If you're there for a year, let's say a 1-year project, the actual output is most likely going to be lower compared to you working at a startup for 1 year. So then it's also a bit strategic from my end, like what am I going to focus on in my case study? So I went more for the changes I made to the business compared to the changes the business makes for their users, because I thought my impact there was bigger compared to quote unquote the average. So yeah, get a testimonial if you can, either from a stakeholder, preferable, or if that's not possible, even if it's a comment on Reddit or your Google form that you made, it beats having no testimonial.
Very true. And you should be active in kind of seeking those testimonials or like those pieces of feedback. Like, don't wait till a month or 2 or a year down the road. Like ask for it right away, even if you're mid-project.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, in my corporate days, at the end of the year, you always had the year-end review, and then they ask for testimonials. So then when it's November, all your colleagues are sending you messages like, "Hey, can you write me a testimonial?" Very stressful. Odds of you getting a reply are low because everyone's asking everyone. But then I was perfectly calm because I already asked for testimonials in June and March. So I was very happy with that. So yeah, 1000% agree. Yeah. Ask for testimonials before you need them, right? All right. So, I mean, that's one. We're already talking quite specifically about the first one. The second one is actually the opposite, although still as positive of the first one. So the first one was people hire designers to help them make money. And the second reason is people hire designers to help them save money.
Exactly.
And that, you might say like, well, that saving money means making money. And yeah, but the mindset is slightly different. And I do actually have a very specific example that hopefully will make a lot of sense from a real project from quite a few years ago already by now, like 2021 or something, 2020 perhaps. And that was one of the overflowing customer support, a tool from a certain company was meant to be useful, but it was very confusing. So lots and lots of people were just sending messages and tickets to the customer support, meaning that there was a delay before your specific ticket could get a reply, or even more delay before it could be resolved. So by fixing the tool, redesigning it, doing a whole UX project around it, figuring out why it's unclear, how to make it better, testing, prototyping, designing, the whole thing resulted in less support tickets being created around that tool. That brings down the queue time, the delay. People are getting helped quicker, and that saves them money because the issue that someone has and the reason for them to perhaps churn, get angry, talk badly about your company, those reasons were going away way quicker. So you design in a way to make something better, and that helps them save money, basically by being able to do things quicker in a less annoying way.
Yeah, I think a quick napkin math for that one is like do a rough estimate of like what's the salary of a customer success agent, like hourly, and then how many tickets, and then how many tickets do they address during the day on that specific topic. To your example, like you would categorize that type of ticket, and then if your solution kind of wiped that around, like that's the math there. And I think it's like the customer success like bucket is really powerful, because what you generally want to do is kind of wipe out you have a high volume of like low effort, like just nitpicky stuff. Like if you can wipe out like the base level, here are the things that most customers kind of stumble over, you're basically unlocking the customer success team to focus on higher impact items. Like if you're getting them past like this, like the low hanging fruit to like here, when I'm actually jumping on a call or jumping on the chat with a customer, it's actually high impact stuff. So it's less about like, where's this button? Where's that thing? It's, oh, I'm confused about this flow. But then as a customer success manager, I'm jumping like, here's how you do it. And then it facilitates making the experience of your product a bit more sticky.
Oh, interesting. So what you basically want is people to focus on something as zoomed out as possible. So not one step, but rather all the.
Exactly. Like to your example, and also like, let's say you have like like a high volume of navigational tickets. Like users aren't able to navigate to the different parts of the app, which means like the fix there is kind of reworking the navigation within your application. Once that's fixed, they're not focused on getting to things. They're focused on the task to complete the certain actions or like the certain features that you've enabled in your platform.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah. It's very similar to what I once said to someone, like you shouldn't test everything, like every little button and every little color and every little alignment, because it's too much into the details, and then it just gets annoying and it slows you down, but rather zoom out and think about the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, that's very interesting. For everything else, I think the save time versus save money versus make money reasons. I think there's quite a lot of overlap there. By saving money, you also make money, and by make money, you might even save some money as well. So one thing I really want to say is that people shouldn't really get stuck in figuring out the right reason. Right? They're both fine, but it's good to be aware of the goal you're aiming for in this case.
Yeah, there is overlap. Like you'd probably categorize like this save money as like opportunity cost, because your team is in the customer success example, because your team is focused on these tickets, you're basically unlocking them to do other tasks. So like a customer success agent is not just tasked with just answering customer calls. They're updating the help center with better articles.
Right.
They're curating the onboarding in-app experience copy. You're unlocking someone to do more high value or high impact tasks versus the low hanging fruits, like a navigational task. Like let them unlock your team, and so that the opportunity cost is it's in both ends. So you're saving money, but we're also making money on the other end, because they're focused on other day-to-day tasks that make the company money in the long run.
Yeah. So, and then I also hear people being concerned about, helping a company save money means that they will fire people. But I maybe a little bit naive, but I really believe in what you're saying. Like it's not, they're not going to let people go, but they will use the same number of people to do more. Same reason why I'm not as concerned about, AI impact on our work, at least. They say like, well, you're a 10x designer now, so they need X less designers. You can also have 10 designers do the work of 100 designers. So I'm actually quite positive about something that might appear scary to some people and to myself every now and then as well, quite frankly.
That's the same perception I had. Like, why would you get rid of people if they can do more? Like, AI is not going to, like, we can do these tasks faster. So that's where we're going to cap our productivity level. Like, let's do less people to do the same amount with an AI tool, or just enable everyone with these AI tools to increase their output.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Like you make more money there's this idea that to individually, if you want to have more money in your pocket or in your bank account, you make sure that you penny pinch and you save here, you're using coupons, etc. Versus the real answer is make more money, and then you'll have more money.
Yeah. Well, also it's saving money there's an end to it. Like, if you look at your example of, let's say it's a household, like you can save some money on groceries, but at some point you would still need the minimum requirement of groceries. Like you cannot do without, you need to eat. But making more money, in theory, of course, there's a limit to it. But the ceiling is way higher compared to you saving money, even without doing more work in terms of hours. I'm trying to focus on that a bit more this year to increase my average hourly rate, basically, compared to last year.
I think that's
same hours, more money. That's another thing.
So the thing about it, like if you charge more, if you're a freelancer, charging more, like you rank in more versus saving. And then if you're in-house, do the work to get your promotion, so you're making more money for the same amount of hours. It's the same thing.
Yeah. And also something I noticed in almost any discussion, we tend to think it's either or. Like you're either going to help people make money or you're going to help them save money. This happens for one reason, but usually it's because of multiple smaller reasons. So you could have a more complex case study for a very long-term project where you've done multiple things, where you've done both. So that's a little disclaimer I want to include here. Like it helps you, knowing these reasons helps you think and how to frame your case study and your portfolio and all these things. But it's not meant to create tunnel vision. Like I'm going to this case study, I'm only going to write about how it made them money. You can make trips outside of that tunnel. Yeah.
That was a great episode. So if you like this content and want to hear more, please like and subscribe.
Yeah. And if you want to see more, please go to designtablepodcast.com, Spotify, Apple Music, all the big players and more.